So we left off last class speaking about the Yetzer Hara, that part of us. We know which part that is. And we said about how the Yetzer Hara works through a righteous opening. What does it mean, a righteous opening? Sam, what did we say? Or Olivia, what did we say? What does a righteous opening mean? How could the Yetzer Hara get me through a righteous opening?
Like, you want to do something good, but then it turns out to be no.
Yeah. Like, give me an example. Let's make it real.
If you want to help somebody, but then you spend all your time helping someone and then you don't do your homework.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's coming out of somewhere. It's pulling from something else. A righteous opening means when someone does chesed on someone else's behalf. For example, oh, sure, you want me to cook meals for you for the whole week because you're not feeling well, no problem. And then you end up cooking this person a meal, but your family doesn't eat meals right for the entire week. Or we said this is extremely, extremely powerful and effective when someone's becoming religious in the process of becoming a Baal Tshuva. The first commandment God gives at Har Sinai, before he says, Ani Hashem, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Lo Yelecha Elokim Acharim, I am Hashem your God, there should be no other powers. You know what God says? Tasimu Gvulot Mitachat Hahar, which means put Gvulot, put boundaries around the mountain. Right? Because anyone who touches the mountain shall surely die. What does that mean? What was God telling us when he said, put boundaries around the mountain? It says, when all the nation camped at Har Sinai, God said, put boundaries around the mountain. Whoever touches it will die. What does that mean? Don't come too close. Don't come too fast. You need things. You need boundaries. You need borders. You can't do everything at once. It's not the right thing to do everything at once, right? So someone can give a whole beautiful class on Tzniut and now you want to do everything. The answer is don't do everything. That may be right for her at this point, but for me, I'm just going to get resentful, right? I know for myself, if someone... And this has happened at some different institutions I've been in, right? Someone will make a comment on tzniut or clothing that I'm wearing or certain earrings that I'm wearing. And them telling me that does not inspire me to take it off, and now I feel more modest, right? Now I feel more refined and dignified. It needs to come from me. It needs to come in an organic way. Doesn't mean, and you all know me when I say this, doesn't mean you don't push yourselves out of your comfort zone. You push yourself out of your comfort zone. You don't push yourself into danger zone. Okay, so it works through a righteous opening. We said that the Chafetz Chaim used to go into the Beit Midrash at night and say, everyone go to sleep, it's the work of the Yetzer Hara, right? Stop staying here so much. Okay, now, these are big ones. In Sefer Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verses 47 till almost a whole parak. There's almost a whole chapter speaking about the klalas, the punishment of if you don't serve God with happiness. We're familiar with those verses? That's actually, remember I told you that story with that Muslim cab driver and the Christian cab driver in New York, Manhattan? So you guys the story? Yeah? Okay, whatever. Anyways, this cab driver I was talking to, and this is the verse actually he was quoting, right? Which is, there's a whole chapter on verses of if you don't serve God with happiness. Why do you think there's like a whole chapter on the punishments that will happen? Yeah.
You didn't tell us that story. I told you so that story. Can you tell us that story about the cab driver? Or not right now?
Oh, how did you know I told you so?
Because Galia told me about the story because you told me so.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, I mean, it was apropos to you, so because we're learning Christianity then. But yeah, I guess this also has to do with the Yetzer Hara. The reason why I love this topic so much is because essentially everything falls into it, right? Which is Yetzer Hara also has to do with like preconceived notions, right? Of judgments that we have on other people and that we impose on other people. And the funny story was I was in this cab when I was in Manhattan, and this driver, he was like this great guy, and we were having a great conversation, and he was just started speaking. He's like, well, I'm one of the lost tribes, and he was saying how he has some like Jewish, he's from one of these African countries, okay, he did not look Jewish at all, and he started like just talking to us and how Jewish people are like so nice, and how Jewish people really have it right, but Jesus really is the right one, and he said, he knew more Torah than like off by heart that like I could ever know, and he's like, you want to know which are my favorite verse from the Bible? I'm like, what? And he just quoted this verse that I'm saying in Deuteronomy of all the curses that will happen if you don't serve God with joy, which I was so impressed by. And then at the end of the car ride, I was like, my husband the whole time was a little uneasy because I'm more like, speak to the whole world and we're all one. And he's like, you just don't want to get ourselves hurt. It's a pretty tense time between Jews and Muslims, And then at the end, so I said to him, I was like, if there's one message you can give the Jewish nation, what would it be? And I'm thinking it would be continue being the light unto the other nations, right? Because when you meet someone when you meet a non-Jew who respects Jews, they really respect them. And I've heard many times, keep doing what you guys are doing. You're bringing morality to the world. And so I said, if there's one message you can give the Jewish nation, what would it be? He's like, there's one message. You guys got to be more open to Jesus. And so I was like, And then we had a whole conversation. I said, but if you believe in the Old Testament says that Jesus didn't come to change anything, and he changed. And Christianity today, he's like, the real Christians don't listen to the whole New Testament. He's like, we listen to the Old Testament. I was like, well, look at all of Catholicism. And we had a whole conversation. My husband's in the back there, And we had a whole conversation between Jews and Christianity and what they actually believe in. And then we took a picture at the end. It was a whole very nice moment, all of us together. So that's also a nice part of also the Yetzer Hara, which comes into our narrow, skewed vision of the world, which is, also getting burned from the world, right? We can get burnt from the world, which is, I'll tell you, a present real-time story that. So we're moving now, and as whoever Sabrina's been to my house, so we know it's our first time moving. And it is, my sister validated me when she said, a move in a person's life is one of the, she's like, I forget which one it is, one of the top reasons either for suicide, divorce, or depression. I'm like, wow, okay. And my other sister said, statistically speaking, is one of the most stressful things a person can go through in life. I'm like, okay, so I feel validated. And we've been dealing with pretty difficult people the whole time. And, no, my kids are angels. They keep me sane. I love my kids. But so we've been dealing with pretty difficult people the whole time. And a person's true colors show when money comes into the picture. Okay, obviously, I'm not talking about my family. Obviously, we're talking about landowners. And I turned to my husband this past week and I said to him, it's at this point in time that people get burnt from the world. I was like, and I totally get it, right? I was speaking to my dad, and I was just telling him some things that were going on, and he said, welcome to the real world, right? And he said, it's at this point in the world that people get burnt. And I turned to my husband, and I said, I'm not letting that happen, right? Doesn't mean you shouldn't be more cautious. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be more aware and be able to have stronger boundaries. But I won't let that happen to me, right? What's one of the tactics? Say we're just going to finish up with the tools the Yetzer Hara tries to employ and how to overcome that. But one of the main ones, 3 of the main ones are despair, anxiety, and depression. And when we spoke about moods, raise your hand if you were in here when we spoke about moods. You were here. 3 of you were here. Okay, 3 of you. Okay. So when we're speaking about moods, we said, right, when you're in a certain low mood, you tend to believe that mood, right? Richard Carlson says, most relationship problems stem from 2 people taking each other's low mood seriously. That's our Yetzer Hara, right? Despair, anxiety, depression, that gives us a skewed vision of the world. Despair is, I'm throwing my hands up, I have nothing else to do, so let me resort to this negative behavior. Let me resort to overeating, even though I feel disgusting afterwards. Let me resort to you fill in the blanks, and afterwards it's dumb. Why is there almost a whole chapter in Deuteronomy in Devarim speaking about, and if you don't serve Hashem with simcha? Why? Because you can only get a true dveikut. You can only receive true connection. You can only have that real connection when you're serving God out of happiness. A person is not allowed to have nevuah, prophecy. Now we don't have prophecy nowadays, right? If someone starts prophesying to you, run very far. But nowadays we don't have nevuah. But when they had nevuah, in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, all the prophets, right, said they had all these musical instruments and they were very into music. Why? To lift their spirits. Yaakov Avinu, he didn't have prophecy. He didn't have nevuah for 22 years. Why?
Because he wasn't happy?
He wasn't happy. Why? What happened to Yaakov? What happened in his life for 22 years? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Losef, Liz, Lissing. Yes, thank you, Nicole. Yosef is missing, right? Yosef was missing for 22 years. And everyone says, I don't get it. He's Yaakov Avinu. Didn't he realize where his son was? Like, he had prophecy. He's one of the forefathers. And the answer is, he didn't have prophecy for 22 years. Why? Because he was in a state of sadness. And when we're in this state of sadness, it tends to perpetuate itself. And then it becomes a vicious circle. And then I feel bad that I'm sad. So then I get into an even lower place, or guilt, right? Then I feel guilty that I did this. Oh, and if I stoop this low, right, then that means that Hashem for sure doesn't want to hear my tefillah. When I teach the class about neshama, how we're a soul, we're not a body, we're our body is just the vessel, it's the home to our neshama. And no matter what, we're intrinsically good. No matter what, we're intrinsically pure. And we can do tshuva in a second. We can do tshuva in a second. I was at the kotel the other night, and when I was there, and you hear these women crying, and I was recalling all of these stories the Gemara speaks about of people, someone named Elazar ben Dordaya, and other big people who in a second they got olam haba. In a second, this one person, he went to every prostitute in the world, and it's a whole story. And then this last woman he was with, she made a comment to him that made him realize what he's doing in his life, and he sat down and he cried himself to death, right? And then a voice came out saying, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya, Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya. This is someone who his entire life he was with prostitutes. You're calling him Rebbe? Yes, because in a second he cried himself to death because of the power of tshuva. Our essence, tshuva means shuv, to return. We're returning to ourself. Our self is intrinsically good. Our self is intrinsically pure, right? And so when I teach this class to women and they say, wait, but me, Eve, I did this. Do you know that I did this? Does this class still apply to me? And the answer is yes. Yes, this class still applies. It applies to every single person. People like Hitler, Yimach Shemam, who are intrinsically evil, I don't know, right? Yes, this class still applies to you, right? So despair and sadness is we get into this cycle, this vicious cycle of, okay, fine. So now what? Now what? Simcha is directly connected to emunah, right? The more emunah, which is faith based on knowledge that we have, the more of the foundation, the solid foundation that we have, the more we're able to tap into that simcha. Any questions or anything to add? Yeah.
Tshuva is like, I just feel like it's too easy. You know what I'm saying? Like let's say I spoke Lashon Hara about somebody. All I have to do is really regret it, make a verbal thing, and then make a plan to change. That's like easy. It takes like 4 minutes maximum. And I don't know, it doesn't undo the damage. I don't like it when I did.
I think it's very hard.
Yeah?
Let's hear. How's it very hard? How's it very easy?
I mean, it depends what you have done and how much you go deep in that sin. I mean, how much you really understand what you have done, like the whole concept or the whole consequences and from very roots. So then the root is so deep maybe that it's a long time to get rid of it.
To get rid of it. But like
I like that mashal, yeah.
Yeah. But also the feeling of regret comes naturally when you did something wrong. So that first step is already just another.
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily.
You can be so desensitized with something, you don't even realize that you're doing wrong anymore. At some point, you're just so used to doing it that regretting becomes so much harder.
And also, you have to stop what you're doing, and that can be really hard too. I would say this was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life. I'm still working on it.
What? Stop with that. Stop the thing.
Yeah. No, the whole process of the tshuva for one thing I did is been 3 years already, and I'm still working on it.
Who wants to know what Sam's talking about? I'm good. I agree. Meaning, on one hand, it could seem really easy, although our version of tshuva is radically different than Christianity. Christianity is confession. That's really easy, right? Just go confess, and the pastor says, "You're forgiven, my child." Ours is vidoy, right? First, confess it. You know what it means to confess? How many times for myself, it's like rationalizations. Again, another tool, another tactic of the Yetzer Hara. And the bigger the person, the bigger the rationalizations are. So you're saying, it's so easy, I regret it. It's like, really? Can I tell you how many times I've said something? Then I'm like, I know I shouldn't have said that, but if I tell her I'm sorry, it's kind of going to make it a thing, and it wasn't really a thing. I said something stupid to her, and then I'm not going to apologize to her because I'm going to pull her over. Just kind of let's just not make it a thing. And we kind of rationalize or we deny what actually happened. So first is vidoy. No, I actually hurt my mom, or I insulted my friend, or I did that really stupid thing that I shouldn't have done. Charata is to regret it, right? The first step in 12 steps is acknowledging what is. Vito is a big part of, can I acknowledge? And acknowledging and verbalizing out loud, that makes it real, it makes it tangible. Charata is, I regret it. Do I actually regret it? I also happen to find tshuva very hard. Like, do I really regret it? Well, she kind of deserved it. I feel bad that I said something mean to someone, but she kind of deserved it. You know, like the amount of mean things that she says to me, like, okay, so I made one stupid comment. I'm giving an example of speech, plug in your own examples, okay? Charata is, I really regret it. I wish I didn't say that, right? Or it's kind of like, I'm happy I said it, but like, okay, at least now it's like over with, right? Like you want to get that in there. Azivat hachet means, I'm not, lazov, I'm done. Chet, right? Do we write what chet means? Did I write the word chet? I wrote it yesterday, right? Ches, tes, aleph. The aleph is silent. I wrote that here on the board. What's a chet? What's funny about the word chet? The aleph. Who said that? Olivia? The aleph is totally silent. Why? What's the aleph? Aleph always represents aluf, above, our neshama, the one, the godliness part of us. When we do a chet, when we do a sin, our aleph, our neshama, is silent, right? It's not really part of us. It's that aleph is quiet. However, it's quiet, meaning I didn't listen to my godly self. I didn't listen to my nefesh elokit, my godly part of me. I listened to my nefesh habahami, the lower part of myself. But the aleph, the aleph means that's my neshama, which means there's a part of me that can never be touched. That's what we're saying, my soul is pure. When we do a chet, that just means our neshama was silent, but our neshama is always untouchable. Meaning, whenever we sin, does God really want to hear my tefillah after I just did that? Right? It's kind of this feeling of like, really? I'm going to like dress like this or speak like this or do this after I just did that? And the answer is, well, yes. Right? God blew a part of himself into us. That's our neshama. Why did I say that? All right, so azivat hachet, that's what we said. Chet means, right, the actual sin. I mean, I'm not going to do this again, right? Which is, that's a really hard thing to do. Really, you're not going to do it again. Real tshuva is a process. It's work. Doesn't mean we don't fall back, but it means that we're actually doing this work. Okay, fine, so I'm not going to smoke again. No, I'm really not going to smoke again. I'm not going to yell at my mom again. I'm not going to yell at my kids again. Really, azivat hachet? Not going to do it again. And then what's the fourth step? Forgiving yourself, that's part of it. What you said it.
Repaying debts.
Repaying debts, that's action, thank you. Kabbalah al ha'atid. Right? Kabbalah, lekabel, right, means to receive, people take Kabbalahs upon themselves. So Kabbalah al ha'atid, atid is the future. It means you take something on for the future. It's like now let's put that into practice. What can I put into practice for myself? There's something I'm going to take on for the future, right? Again, it doesn't mean we won't mess up, but the process, I hear what you're saying, how it can be, and I do have feelings like that also sometimes, like, okay, sorry, God, done, right? Or you kind of like bang your chest a few times, but it's like, wait, let's get into this process. Let me tell that person. Personally, I feel like that confrontation is usually like the hardest part because they kind of forgot about it. Like, if I don't see anything, it doesn't really exist. Like, put it in that closet there where like you never want anyone to open because the moment you open that closet, everything that comes piling down, just like stuff it and like shove the closet closed. So like they're not going to remember, leave it there, right? And it's like opening this bag of worms. So more than the Yetzer Hara wants us to sin. It wants us to feel bad for the sin. It wants us to get stuck into this cycle. We have put into place a Rosh Hashanah every single year and a Rosh Chodesh every single month. What does Rosh Chodesh mean? A new month, right? What does Rosh literally mean? The head, right? Also the first, Bereshit in the beginning, right? Rosh means the head, right? What does Chodesh mean? Chadash, new, right? We're literally using our head to make something new of ourselves. We have that into our cycle every single month. We have Rosh Hashanah into our cycle every single year, right? The Rambam, we said, paskins, that when someone does tshuva, they should change their name. We don't do halachic ruling like that, but you should change your name. You're a new entity. That's not me anymore. That is so powerful, right? Someone said yesterday, she was just talking about her life, and she's like, and this is all my baggage. She's like, I don't mind it because it's designer baggage, right? Like, which is like, we all have this baggage part of us, but it's like designer baggage. It's great and it's perfect, and that's what makes me me. Okay, so let's go on. Oh, one more point I want to make before I just get on to now what's the solution, which is where does the Yetzer Hara, if I'm to ask you, where does the Yetzer Hara try to hurt the community as a whole. Where's the biggest place it tries to hurt us? Politics? Ooh, you've been in Israel too long, if that's what you're saying. There are people who will not discuss politics. There are people who will not discuss, they don't want to get into real arguments. I know certain families who the siblings do not tell each other who they voted for. It gets pretty vicious here and there also. Politics, where would you say the Yetzer Hara? We said despair, anger, anxiety, these things go without saying. Depression, if you ever experience it, it's hell, right? On earth, present living hell. Where else? Where do you see so much pain? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with Brangelina. No.
Marriage?
Yes, right. Yeah, they just got divorced, right? No, they just got divorced. So, what? Yeah, divorce. Sorry. I was really shocked when that happened, although I think they deserve it. Is divorce is family. In the family setting, because that has the potential to be so beautifully explosive fireworks, the Yetzer Hara tries the hardest at home. In the places where there can be the most beautiful harmony, where there can be such incredible, literally, what does it mean to have a child? It means you are being godlike. You cannot get, the only other way to be a creator is to create yourself, right? That's what we're all doing. When we do tshuva, how do I be godlike? What's one word? How would you describe God? He's nice, he's kind, she, he, whatever, right? He's bestowing goodness. God's a creator. He created everything. He created yesh me'ain, something from nothing. How do I be godlike? I become a creator myself. How do I become a creator myself? I recreate myself. That's what we're doing on Rosh Hashanah. I am recreating myself. To have a baby means I am literally creating a human being. The moments in the hospital where all of a sudden there's you and your husband, or the husband and the wife and the doctor, and all of a sudden there's a fourth human being in the room. Where it's not a normal thing. I have a friend who, while she was working with this private doctor, and while she was in labor, and this doctor happened to be an atheist, and while she was in labor, she told me with her own mouth, I wouldn't repeat this if she didn't tell it to me herself, while she was in labor and she was pushing the baby out, she's like, Dr. So-and-so, how do you not believe in God? And I was like, did you really see, is that what you were thinking when you're pushing the baby out? Yes, that's what she was thinking. Okay, you gotta love the Jewish nation, right? So when childbirth is unbelievable, but what happened instead? What happened instead? So there's friction, and there's morning sickness, and babies are hard, or living with someone. Well, I didn't know you were like this before when we were dating, right? Well, guess what? God hid that from you on purpose so you'd marry this person. So the two of you will be together because your souls have a whole journey to go through, right? The home has, a happy home is literally a happy life, right? You can send your children, schools impact the child, of course they do, but if the home is stable and secure and safe, the child will be stable, safe, and secure, usually, right? And that's where the Yetzer Hara tries the most. The divorce rate is over 60%. Do you know what that means? 6 out of 10 people will get divorced. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Is this in the Jewish community?
No, that's in America, statistic in America. But the Jewish community, it's a little bit less. The Jewish community is not lacking in divorces either. The Orthodox world is not lacking in divorces either. It's definitely lower, but this is quite different. Okay, so the last part. So how do we deal with it then?